I have one shirt that I'm going to do tonight, so we'll walk through start to finish with the shirt completely blank. We'll go over supplies real quick also, and then we will screen print a shirt. So I posted in the group earlier the supplies that you need for screen printing. So you're going to need your Cricut or Silhouette or whatever cutting machine that you have. You're also going to need permanent vinyl. And then you're going to need a screen, which they sell kits. I got this one as part of a kit, and then I purchased another kit with different sizes of screens. And then you'll also need ink. I use Speedball ink. And then my kit also came with a squeegee. So, and this one is my favorite. So I'm going to be using this one tonight. And then, let's see, what else? Your shirt, obviously, or whatever you're going to screen print on. And yeah, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm going to be using the larger screen that I have, which is measure it real quick. Let's see, so the actual screen size is like 13 3/4 by 9 3/4. So I have a Silhouette, so I'm using Silhouette Studio to design and then cut out. I have a file that I already purchased and I added it in there. So here is the shirt. It's a 2XL, and I just want to make sure that the size that I make my design is going to fit. So I'm going to see my screen. I'm going to put this way so I can optimize the largest part of it. So I said it was like 13 3/4. So, I mean, a 12-inch design would probably be good. I can center it in here, and that still gives me a really good size on the shirt as well. So 12 inches. So I'm going to show you how I cut out my stencil for screen printing in Silhouette Studio. First, I pulled in my design. I purchased this file from Etsy, and I'm going to size this. I want it to be 12 inches wide. So first I'm going to change the size of my design, and I want to make sure that my aspect ratio is locked in, which is this lock button up here. I'm going to make this 12 inches wide. Okay, so I'm going to draw a rectangle to use as my stencil. So first I'm going to draw a rectangle, and then I'm going to change the color of it. Then I'm going to go up here to the pointer tool, and I'm going to turn off the aspect lock ratio so that way I can make this as wide as I want and as long as I want, and I don't care if the ratio stays the same. So I want this to be 11 inches wide and then 13.75 inches tall. So this will be the base for my stencil. I'm going to go ahead and right click and then send to the back. Oops. So that way I can see my text and what I'm doing with it. So I want this text to be 2 inches down from the top of my stencil. So what I'm going to do is just line this up here. And then I'm going to take my I can't make everyone happy, I'm not a taco text, and I'm going to turn it so that I can cut it to be 12 inches long. If I were to leave it as 12 inches wide, I wouldn't be able to do it. And then I'm going to go and move it 2 inches down. When I line this up on my screen, it will allow me to just center it on the shirt, and I don't have to try to center it and guesstimate about how far down. I just place it on the collar centered, and then it's ready to go. So I'm going to select both things. You can click and drag, and then I'm going to align this, and I'm going to center it into the middle by doing the vertical middle align. All right, so now this is almost ready to go. I'm going to be cutting this without a mat, so I need to change the setup properties of this. So first I'm going to go in and change this to none for my mat, and then I need to make my canvas larger. So we're just going to go in here, and our width is already maxed out at the longest that it can be. Alrighty. And then I'm going to move this over so it's inside our cut margins. And then the last step before I send this to cut is I need to reverse this, because I want it to be, once you cut it out, it will look backwards as you're applying it on the screen, but you're actually going to flip the screen over. So I'm going to right click and then flip vertically. Now it's backwards and ready to go. So I'm going to click send. I'm going to change my material from the cardstock plain to vinyl glossy, and then send it to cut. Okay, so I'm cutting just outside of the square or rectangle that it cut. So when you're doing the screen printing, one, this is mirrored, so it's backwards, but you want to weed out any areas that you want the paint to be at. So I'm weeding out all of the words. Take the rectangle off, around the, not take the rectangle, take the outside of it off. Okay. And all the random fuzz. Okay, and then I'm gonna find all of these letters in here and weed them out. There is my stencil all weeded. Now I'm going to take transfer tape and put it over the top. I like using the paper transfer tape because it's not quite as sticky. It makes it easier when you are applying it to the screen and pulling off the transfer tape. I'm going to apply my stencil to the transfer tape rather than the other way around, and I'm going to try my best to leave the top part off of the transfer tape so it makes it easier when I'm trying to line it up. So I'm going to let that stick up a little bit and then just apply it. Find my squeegee thing that I just had. There it is. I squeegee from the back and then also from the front. Alrighty. Peel the paper from the vinyl. Make sure to go slow because sometimes it still sticks, and there's nothing worse than tearing vinyl on accident. And if any of it comes up, just push it back down again and generally it sticks and you're good. When you apply the stencil to the screen, when you actually screen print, you want to have the edges up. Kind of think of that as that's your protection for the ink. It's not going to go past this. So when you apply it, you want to apply it to the back of the screen. So my design is going to be this way. And then I sized my stencil so that I can just center it on here. And then I'm going to apply painter's tape around the edge. But I already measured it, so I'm going to try not to stick this to here, but I measured it so that I have 3 finger widths from the top of the letter that's on like the T basically and the K down from here, so that way when I put it on the shirt I can just line the edge of this up to the shirt and we're set. And I'm just eyeballing centering this on here on the screen. Alrighty. And then you're going to squeegee from both sides, the front and the back. So when you go to screen print, this is what you'll actually see. So now it is right side up. I'm going to squeegee from this side too. Just making sure that bubble's nice and in the middle where it's not going to do anything. Okay. And I like to run my squeegee kind of up against here. I'm going to do it also after I take the transfer tape off, just to make sure it's stuck on there really good. Because there's nothing worse than when it bleeds through your stencil. Which is why I also completely cover it in painter's tape, so that that doesn't happen. Because I had that happen to me once, and it's so aggravating. Okay. So now you're just peeling this back, and this is another one. You want to go slow. You don't want to go too fast so you don't tear vinyl. And anything that pulls up, you just push back down again. I like the wider one just because it makes doing the edges easier. So I make sure to overlap over the vinyl, and then it's also going to go over the edge because it's so wide. I'm going to do the bottom too. I'm not really worried about the top as much because the vinyl goes all the way to the top, but just to be safe on the bottom. So then I'm just going to make sure that the screen is centered on the shirt. I already measured down my finger's widths from the collar. So I'm just going to line that up there and then make sure that I'm centered. Sorry, my stand is on my shirt. Everywhere else. Make sure we look good. Then grab the paint and something to put the paint on there with. So now I'm going to use the Speedball ink. This is one that came in the starter kit. It's a 4-ounce jar, and I've made quite a few shirts with this so far. So the nice thing about this squeegee that I have is that it fits right inside of here. So I'm going to be going this way and then wiping back and then squeegeeing that way. If it was a wider one, I'd go from the top. I mean, technically I could probably wipe down, but I just want to make sure that I have a nice consistent wipe across the shirt. I'm going to put my ink along here. Really, a little bit goes a long way. It doesn't hurt though to have a little extra because you can always put it back in your jar. So I'm probably going to end up putting way too much on here because usually I do more than one shirt at a time, and this time I only have one shirt, but that's okay. I can put it back. Alrighty. Here we go. So I'm going to hold down with this hand, and then I'm going to swipe across, and this is, I'm not putting a lot of pressure, I'm just making sure that I'm covering the entire design. So I missed a little bit on the Y there, so I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to wipe back from this angle now, across. I'm just making sure that I have nice even coverage across the whole thing. And then I'm going to push hard and wipe across. Do it one more time. And then pull it up. Ta-da! So you can do this on a heat press, or I have my easy press sitting here, so I'm going to do that. I have it heated up to 325 degrees. I'm going to put it on my Cricut pressing mat, and then I'm going to have to press it twice because it's a little bit bigger than my pressing mat. So I'm going to put down a piece of butcher paper just to cover the design. This is what I use for sublimation, so it's right next to me all the time. And then I'm just going to press it for about 10 seconds. Add some pressure, and then I'm going to work my way through the whole entire design. The design is heat set on there. It's not going anywhere, and it's ready to go to its new home.